Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today, tonight, this morning, whenever you're watching it? I'm like worn out. It is 3:38 a.m. and I'm like kind of like physically and emotionally, well, physically, I feel horrible. My allergies, you guys, this year. This might be the worst year I've ever had allergies. My throat itches. My nose today has just been running nonstop. My eyes are just like watery and running nonstop. And my throat is super itchy. Did I say that already? It's like really itchy. My throat hurts too. And then on top of that, you know, in the last 2 weeks, I've just like been banging out videos. And then Alex's friend passed away. I'm just kind of like emotionally worn out a little bit, I think. And, but it's weird. Like, I went to my meeting tonight with Tanya, and I talked about everything that was going on, and I feel weirdly, well, I guess like when I say I feel like everything that's going on, like with Alex's friend, I mean, he was my friend too. I just didn't know him on the level that Alex did. I mean, he and Alex like hung out a lot. Like I would go out on like double dates with he and his girlfriend. And we went to like events together, and like he would come by our house and stuff like that. But I definitely didn't. I mean, it was Alex's friend, but like, you know what I mean? It'd be kind of somewhat kind of like Tanya's husband, so to speak. But although no, because I was probably a lot. I mean, I've known Eric for 22 years, so it's a lot different. But anyway, I mean, I knew Jason really well too. The whole thing is just really, really tragic, and Alex is just really struggling with it. Like he's really, really struggling with it, and I guess, you know, it's offered me an opportunity to be of service and just to be there for him, to be the strong one. And which, you know, he's totally leaning on me, which is nice that he will allow me to do that. In the past, Alex is not like an emotional person. He wasn't an emotional person, but like that's one of the things that we've really worked on in counseling, or he's really worked on. And so he is kind of really leaning on me this time, which is nice, and talking to me about stuff. If you guys want to see his friend, Alex did like kind of a little tribute on Instagram. He did like 5 or 6 pictures of him and them dancing and stuff like that. I think there's maybe one picture of all of us and they're together, his girlfriend and stuff. Yeah, it's just super tragic. And so apparently they were like in a car. They were in his car coming back, and he was driving, and there was like a tractor trailer in front of them, and they were going like, I don't know, speed limit on interstate, and he looked over at his friend. They were like laughing, and his friend said something, and then he like looked up, and the tractor trailer had braked, and I guess like his last words were like, oh shit, or something like that. And the way that they were, the passenger side was the one that was supposed to hit, and he swerved. So he ended up dying on impact, and the guy that was the passenger, that was his friend, has a broken arm. And he swerved. So like, I don't know, his friend that was in the car said that you could tell he intentionally swerved so that it wouldn't hit his side. Tonight, Alex, one of these girls that was like really, so there was like 5 or 10 of them that like all hung out together and were all really close. And then Alex met him through his girlfriend, Alex's girlfriend, the one that he goes over to her house and stuff. Not Sarah, but like they all went to high school together. There was like 4 of these girls, 3 girls and a guy, 3 girls and Alex. And Alex met Jason through his one friend, the one that he goes over there to her house, and she lives real close to us. So the 2 of them went over to this woman's house tonight because she had kind of like a get together to kind of like process what had happened, and for them to like all just like sit and kind of like talk about stuff and just like share stories. And Alex, he wanted to go and be part of it, but like emotionally, like he was really resistant to it because he doesn't like to feel feelings a lot. And he was like, you know, I know I should go. And I said, no, it'll be good for you. You need to go. And he went, and he said it was really therapeutic and it was really, really helpful for him. And they kind of like all sat around and just kind of like processed what had happened and talked about it. I mean, it's really sudden, you know, it's tragic. And it's just sad. It's really, really sad. And he's not from here originally. And so the funeral is out of state next week, and Alex is really wanting to go. And I would like to go too. I think they're having a celebration of life here, but the funeral is out of state. So I don't know how that, my eyes itch so bad. I don't know how that's going to work. But I'm assuming we'll go. I think that's next Wednesday. We can either go and stay overnight and come back. It's in Kentucky. And then come back the next day, or I can drive and drive back. I don't mind doing that. We can leave early and then drive and drive back. I don't really have an issue doing that. That's probably what we should do. I think it's like a 4-hour drive though, or something, maybe even longer than that. Yeah, it's just real sad, you know, and it's like, they were all supposed to go to the race together this weekend. Like, Alex was part of his group that was going to the race. And we had just gone to Rev. I mean, it wasn't just an acquaintance. I mean, this is like somebody that Alex like does stuff with all the time, like every week, several days a week. He's just like, I don't even know. I think he's totally in shock, you know? He's like, I don't know. It's just so tragic. It's weird, like, Rich Lux. I'll call him back in a little bit. It's weird through all of this, you know, like, it feels very much to me like my grieving, like when my aunt died. Like, I'm really sad about it. And it's really, really horrible. But I feel like, it's not, like, this isn't about me. This is his. And, like, with my aunt, it was, like, you know, Caroline was the one that it was about. And it's my job to be of service and to be there and to be the rock, you know, and to, you know, let him lean on me. Like, I let Caroline lean on me and, you know, just do what I need to do to be the best husband as possible. You know, I think it's an interesting thing when you talk about, like, grief and going through the process like this. Like, you know, I hear this story a lot, you know, like in the rooms of recovery, that back in the day, like when we were using, that no matter, I mean, I laugh because it is kind of true. You know, no matter what the catastrophe or the tragedy was that we were going through, we would make it about us. You know, like, I knew the person most, or, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I mean, and ultimately it was all just, we were using them as reasons to use, you know, and it was interesting because I brought it up tonight. So we break off into small little groups, and I brought it up. And, like, everybody was going around and talking about how, like, they were able to, like, be there for their partners and stuff. It was just really, it was a nice meeting, and it was nice to hear some kind of stories of who we become, you know, the more that we are sober and things like that. And it was a hopeful meeting. I don't know, it was nice. So, yeah. For those of you, I had looked on Alex's picture, and there were quite a few people that had gone on there and, like, wished him their condolences. Thank you. That was really sweet. I know last night I said that he's really, really private. I honestly didn't think that he would put anything up. But since he did, I really appreciate you guys going over there and supporting him and being nice about the whole thing. as corny as it sounds, I know that Instagram is really important to my husband. It's probably his favorite pastime of life. And, he was asleep when I read it, because he was, like, writing it, and I was asleep. I fell asleep as soon as I came home from my meeting tonight, just, like, passed out. I was so tired. And so I woke up, and I was, like, reading it on Instagram, and I got, like, real choked up reading it, like that, you know, because it just was really endearing. It was really sweet what he said. And, you know, we were talking today, and, like, you have to understand, that my husband has no spiritual foundation. He doesn't believe in anything. So, like, I was talking to him on the phone today, like, when he was on his way home from work, and he was just crying and crying and crying. And he said, I think, like, I was thinking about this today. I was thinking, like, you know, I know that if you watch my Peterisms videos, or if you hear me on here, you probably think I'm a pretty spiritual person. But I think, like, that, like, one thing that people wouldn't guess about me, you know, like, whenever you hear, like, the one that you always get those questions in Q&A, like, what's something that nobody would guess about you? Or what's, like, one misconception? I think that probably the thing that most people wouldn't know about me is how truly, truly spiritual I am. Like, it really is something that intercedes every aspect of my life. It's something I talk about a lot. I'm not a religious person, but I'm not opposed to religiosity. But I'm just a really, really spiritual person. And, I mean, I always go to spiritual place with stuff like this. And people always ask me what I mean by that, you know. You know what's interesting is, like, 5-10 years ago, I would have shied away from, I just am not somebody that's real public about how I feel, but I'm not afraid to share that today. When people always are like, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? And, so there's a recovery saying that is, hell is for people that, well, religion is for people, and listen, like, my mother was a very religious person. I have friends of mine that are very, very religious. I am not opposed to any kind of religiosity whatsoever, or people going to church or whatever. I think if that's where you find your faith, I think that's fantastic for you. I might some point be open to going and doing that today. Really, I'm more, like, the reason I don't, I mean, I'm in churches all the time, you guys, for 12-step meetings. It's not like I have an issue with it, you know? I may at some point decide that that's what I want to do, but a lot of it also has to do with, like, the time commitment and the, you know, the times that the services are and things like that. So, but I thought at some point that I might want to do that. I don't know. But there's a saying that is, hell is for people that are afraid, religion is for people that are afraid of going to hell, and spirituality is for people that have already been there. And what that means is this, okay? Because people always ask, they get very confused, and sometimes they get offended. And this is just my belief. I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm not asking you to co-sign it. I'm just telling you what my belief is. And I think our beliefs are private and personal. And one of the things that I love about 12-step programs is that nobody forces their belief systems on you. You don't have to believe anything. You know, people say to me all the time, like, well, you can't be sober and not have any higher power. Absolutely, you can. I have friends of mine that are atheists that are sober in a 12-step program. There's an entire chapter in the basic text that's called We Agnostics. I have friends of mine that have slim beliefs. You know, yes, you can. I know a lot of people that are total atheists that are sober. It's a different kind of system that works, but, you know, and it's a different way of thinking, but we've progressed a lot, you know, in 80 years or whatever it's been, you know what I mean? A lot. We've progressed a lot. And not just any one specific 12-step program, but all 12-step programs. Yes, they are based in religious verbiage, because that's what they used back in the day. And that was one of my things that I was really resistant to when I got sober, was I would, you know, read texts. When I got sober, I was reading texts from 3 different programs. Because when I got sober, I was going to NA, AA, and CA. And Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, and Narcotics Anonymous. I was going to all 3 programs, which I wouldn't suggest going to do whatever you want to do. Do whatever you want to do. But for me, it was confusing because there were some things that were overlapping, and I had a sponsor that was in one program, not the program that I go to now, and he said, I think it would be best for you to pick a program and stick with it. And that was probably at about a year sober. But that's just my personal experience. Like, I'm not saying that's what you have to do. I know a lot of people to this day that go to more than one 12-step program. Well, there's a lot of people actually that go to like Narcotics Anonymous and Heroin Anonymous, or Alcoholics Anonymous and Heroin Anonymous. Heroin Anonymous is getting really, really huge in Indianapolis. I don't know about other cities and states, but people here, I've never been to a Heroin Anonymous meeting, but people really like them and really say that there's a lot of hope and a lot of success in them. But I can't speak to that because I don't know anything about it. I can only tell you what I've heard from other people. I think whatever works best for people is what they should do. But and I can only speak to my experience. So somebody out there is going to have a problem with what I just said, and somebody out there will understand what I just said. So it is what it is. I'm not an expert in a 12-step program, and I don't represent 12-step programs. Oh my God, that Dunkin' Donuts is totally open now. Okay, yeah. But not right now, or I might have to slide through for a donut. Joking, I'm on a diet. But anyway, so yeah, so like I've always had, I wouldn't say resistance to religion, but I always had kind of like an inbred animosity, which is really, really weird because I grew up going to church. But you know, like what that means to me, that, you know, hell is for people that are afraid, or religion is for people that are afraid of going to hell, and spirituality is for people that have already been there. What that kind of means to me is that people that are afraid of going to hell, or people that are afraid of condemnation or things like that, they want to follow a very rigid list of rules and things like that. Whereas spirituality is kind of just this open relationship that you have with the higher power, or the God of your understanding, okay? That it doesn't have to be like, you must do this, you must do that, you must do this, you must do that. If you don't attend church or temple, you're a bad person. Or, you know, if you don't do this, it's more open, and it's more based on conversations with your higher power, or listening to your higher power, or whatever you work, like prayer and affirmation works for me. So that's really, to me, what that statement means. And so when I say that I'm a spiritual person, what I do is I always take what I'm going through to a spiritual person, or to a spiritual place. But it may not be any different. Like, I was talking to my friend Valerie about this, and I said, you know, I very, very much believe in the power of prayer, and I do. I'm like, in my head, like, how honest do I want to be about this? So I I really take my prayers very seriously. And I was telling Valerie, I said, you made my prayer list. I was joking with her, kind of. And she goes, what? And I said, you made my prayer list. Like, you know, every night when I do my prayers, I do my, this is where you start turning people off, which is really sad, you know? Like, because this conversation would have really turned me off back in the day. And it's really sad that it does, because I wish back in the day, like, if I heard somebody having this conversation, I would have just been like, I have no desire to listen to this whatsoever, you know? And I think the thing is that the reason that I'm sober today, the reason that I'm alive today as a result of me being sober, is because I was able to come up with the higher power of my understanding. And it wasn't just that I cherry picked it. You know, it was based on things that I had heard. It was based on belief systems. And really, my spiritual higher power is based on compassion, love, kindness, you know, tolerance, understanding, and what that would look like if that were in a higher form. You know what I mean? And so I always go to that point. And that's really, to me, what I talk about with spirituality is, who would my higher power want me to be today? Like, how should I be acting? What's the right thing to do? You know? Just because I don't talk about stuff on here, it doesn't mean that there hasn't been things that haven't happened. I think some people would be really surprised to find some of the amends that I have made in the last year, some of the inventory that I've done. I made some amends in the last year that, honest to God, as a 46, almost 47-year-old, 24-year sober person, I would, if you would have asked me at the time, I would have said, I'm not making that amends. I can't do it right now. I didn't do anything wrong, you know, and a year later I look at it and I think to myself, I really did have a part in some of this, you know, and I need to own my part in that. And so anyway, let's get back to what I was talking about. So I'm a pretty spiritual person, so I always take things to a spiritual place, like, you know. And so when I was talking to Alex on the phone today, you know, I was saying some stuff to him, and he was like, I just don't know how to feel. I just don't know what to do. He goes, I don't know if I should just sit in this dark place and allow myself to bawl my eyes out. He was like, I don't know if I should just stay stuck. And I was saying, you know, you got to feel your feelings. Like, you know, when I've had friends that have passed, or when my mom passed, or my aunt and uncle, like, one of the things that was so good for me was just to allow myself to feel my feelings. Like, I had to do that, right? And he was like, well, I don't know what that means. And I'm like trying to explain it to him, but then like that kind of goes into a spiritual area. And so I was kind of like hitting these brick walls when I was talking. And I said, babe, I said, you know, like, what I would say to somebody else is not necessarily what I would say to you. And he was like, what do you mean? And I go, because you don't, like, you don't have any spiritual outlet. Like, you don't, like, I believe so firmly in an afterlife. Well, he doesn't. So the conversation of where Jason is, like, that conversation alone is a completely different conversation. Or the fact that I find some grace in praying to God, you know, and my mother and people to look out for him, you know. And I'm also a believer that, I don't know, I'm probably losing subs right now even talking about this. It's like you can't talk about anything that, oh shoot, I just honked on my own horn, you know. But I don't really care. It's my beliefs and I stand by it, and I respect other people's belief systems. And you know, I'm a believer that the second you go, you're gone. Like, you're up and pain is removed, and I believe that, you know. And maybe it's all made up in my head, but it gives me some kind of serenity and peace. Like, I almost go to a place in my head of seeing, like, Jason, like, smiling and laughing and looking at everybody like, I still love you guys. You know, I'm dancing. Like I told Alex, I said, he's dancing. He'll be dancing with you on Sunday. You know, when you go to the snake pit, he's going to be there dancing with you, you know. You got to remember that. Like, that's... And so Alex was like, talk to me like you would talk to anybody else. Like, tell me the spiritual part of it. Tell me the spiritual aspect of it. And then I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah, I think I need that right now, you know, like... I am just not convinced that when our physical form is gone, that we are gone. I just don't believe that. I just don't. And I don't mean like ghosts and spirits. That's not what I mean. I think those are trapped entities or sadness or whatever. I'm talking about our souls, you know? I don't think that we are limited to our physical being. I just really don't believe that. I just can't believe that. I feel like when all this is stripped away, you know, what is left? And my mom used to always say, I'm just a bag of soul. It's gonna stop, hold on. My mom would say, you know, when I'm gone, don't be attached to my body, because, and it's really, 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 really helped me with my grieving process. My mom said, you know, when I'm gone, don't get attached to my body, because I'm just a bag of soul. And when I was standing over her in the hospital bed that night, after she was gone, it was just me and her in the hospital room. And I was holding her hand. It was so weird, you guys, because I'm somebody that really is, I have huge issues with attachment. I think you guys probably know that by now. And I just didn't. I cannot even explain to you guys I don't know what happened. It's like, I didn't have the issues. I didn't have the attachment issues with her that night. I just was able to completely detach. And I just looked at her and I was like, this is not my mom. My mom is gone. You know, I was holding her hand and it looked like my mom, and her hand felt like my mom, but it just, she was gone, you know? Like, it just was the weirdest thing. And, I go down this little road right here tonight. I never do. I have no idea what's down here. And, you know, like, oh, is it gated? Oh, no, it's not gated. But, like, I mean, it is starting to rain. I am so tired of the rain. But I just was detached. Oh, this is so cute in here. Oh my God. Oh, these are cute. I mean, my God, these are probably $1 million homes. I'm gonna drive up in here and see these. Do you guys like to drive and just look at houses? I do. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I love my condo, but if my husband would live in a neighborhood like this, I would do it in a heartbeat, but he's like, absolutely not. He has no desire to have a yard that you have to take care of. And oh my God, these houses are so cute. I mean, let me just show you when I say these houses. Well, no, I won't do that. Yeah, these are like 6,000 and 10,000 square foot houses. These are not just like little houses, but they're beautiful. But they kind of appear small from the front. Do you know what I mean? Oh my God, this guy tonight at my meeting that I'm friends with. Oh my God, they have like a backyard barbecue pit and everything back there with like a outside kitchen. I love those outside kitchens. Alex's friend has an outside kitchen and a pool, and it's beautiful. This guy that I'm friends with, we were talking tonight. The camera fell. Anyway, so I was talking to this friend of mine tonight, and we were talking about, somehow we got on to like where he went to high school. And I was like, oh, and he went to a private school. And I said, well, where did you live growing up? And he said, and he's probably 10 years younger than me. And he said, I lived at such and such place. And I go, excuse me? And he goes, yeah, it's like, and he told me the cross streets. And I go, do you know where I live? And he goes, no, I have no idea. And I told, and my cross streets, like we shared a cross street. So we literally, like, I grew up like a block and a half from where, like, I mean, I live now like a block and a half from where he grew up, okay? And he goes, that is so crazy. And I go, but you don't live there now, do you? And he goes, no. And I go, and he was telling me where he lives. And I go, are you kidding me? And he goes, what? And I go, you literally, his house backs up literally to the house across the street from where I grew up. So if you were standing in my front yard looking across, you could see the back of his house through the other street. And I was like, this is hilarious. And he was like, that is weird. What a small world. I was like, yeah, I think this is crazy. So anyway. Weird world, weird small world. So I don't know. So I was talking to Alex about, you know, the spiritual piece of all of it, but that helps me with my mom, you know, a lot. Like, not seeing her as this person that was dead and gone, and then she wasn't there anymore. Like, it really did feel, you know, it's weird. Like, I'm thinking it through as I talk about this, but this is how I felt at the time. I've kind of talked about this before. But my mom was in a coma so long. So it almost kind of felt like her soul was in limbo, if that makes sense. And then when she passed, that was like the final part. I really don't know how to explain it any better than that. I mean, but I kind of knew like a month out that she was never coming back. And I almost kind of grieved more then, like that month before. There was like a couple nights when, you know, I went to the hospital every day and spent time with my mom. There was a couple nights that I came home from the hospital that I like literally just, I couldn't go to her condo. I would drive home. My ex and I had broken up. So I was coming home, you know, to be alone, and I just almost couldn't handle it. Like, I just was so distraught. And I really think that's when I truly grieved. like those couple days, like, was the beginning of it. And then I got numb again after my mom passed. And I don't know if I was truly, truly numb, or if like, I'd already maybe just grieved a little bit. I don't know. Sad, isn't it? It's like when you look at the world and you realize that, like, you get to an age where you realize that there's gonna be death. Like, people are gonna go. You know, I was telling Alex tonight, like, I always take it to a weird place. I don't know necessarily weird is the right word, but I always, like, get really kind of deep thought. Like, I'm driving around and I'm listening to music, and so apparently the DJ Avicii, who is like one of my all-time favorite DJs of life, you know, he passed away a couple years ago. I don't know if you know that or not, but Avicii passed away. And so he has an album coming out that he was working on before he passed away, and there's 2 songs that are out. One is called Tough, and I think the other one is called SOS, and I downloaded both of them. Alex played them for me and I downloaded them. So I was driving around and I was listening to them today. And when I left the house, I like looked at Peepee. The dog has so much personality. He's so sweet. But so I carried him upstairs. Like, I put Boo and Tucker in their house, and I carried him upstairs. I was getting ready to go get a coffee and do some stuff, and I had to go pick up Peepee's medicine. And this medicine of his, this one medicine, it's so weird. Okay, so 2 of his medicines, the Lasix and the, I don't know what the other one is called. The pills look, the Lasix and this other pill look almost identical. But anyway, they give us like 1 million of them. Like, literally, like, months worth of supplies. I can't think of what the other one is called, but anyway. The Vetmedin, did I complain about this last time? 21 pills. I don't know how they came up with 21, but he takes 2 a day. So every 2 weeks we have to go in there. And I meant to ask today when I was in there, but it was like this girl, she was like brand new pharmacy tech. And I thought, this is going to be a half an hour. I don't want to be are you ever like that? You're like, I'll just do it next time. I'll just do it next time because I don't want to be stuck in here for half an hour today. But I was going to ask her, because they told me originally, they're like, yeah, like, you can pick up as much of it as you want of the dog medicine as long as the script is on there. Well, the script is on there through next year, I think, or every 6 months or something. So we're just gonna be like, can you give us just like 30 days advance, like, which is gonna be expensive, but I don't really mind as long as I don't have to keep them going in there every 2 weeks. But anyway, so I had like ran upstairs and like put Peepee on the bed, and you know, like, I always like pull up our comforters and stuff like that, and like, you know, Peepee had like his little and so I'll like put his little stuffed animals around him. I'm like, here's Lady. He loves Lady so much. And I'm like, and here's Otis, and here's Cow. Cow's his new little baby that he got for his birthday. And so anyway, like, I place them all around there, and he just kind of sits there. He's so sweet, and he just kind of sits there, and like, he'll look down at all of them when I'm like putting them there, and then he just kind of looks up at me as I'm walking out. And so I always turn back and I give him another kiss, because I feel, of course, horrible that I'm leaving, which is stupid. Why is my music playing? And so I had the weirdest thought, like, when I got in my car. I was like, here it is, you know, that we find out that Peepee has heart disease, and the vet said he's gonna only make it like 1.5 years, which of course I've got that time down to the month, you know, which is October. She said 13.5, and October is 13.5. And And I'm sitting there looking at him, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's coughing, you know, a couple times a day, but he's still running around the yard. He's still running around the house. He has a good life. He's playing in bed with the other dogs. And I'm thinking, and Jason's gone. And this is so weird, you know, that we sometimes don't really have gratitude for the people that we see every day because we take each other for granted. And, you know, not that I'm like, oh, well, Peepee's here and Jason's not. I don't mean it like that. Like, I'm so thankful that my dog is still here. You guys know that. I'm just saying that all this attention, you know, that I'm putting on Peepee only, like, oh, one more day, right? When there are people in my life, I would be devastated if Melissa died, you know, or, you know, Valerie, or, I mean, I was devastated. And yet, I sometimes, what is going on here with this heat? It's like doing the opposite to my windshield. But I think, you know, or Tanya, or her husband, or friends of mine that I talk to, you know, random. I mean, those are the people that I talk to on a regular basis, like those three right there. But I would be devastated if something happened to them. And I have other friends of mine that I've been devastated. You know, I have like 2 friends of mine that I've been meaning to go out to lunch with forever. I have one of like my friend from high school. I think she watches the vlogs, so you know who you are. Like, I've been planning to go out to lunch with her forever, you know, and we still haven't done it. And my other friend, like, she's always wanting to do stuff, and I'm always wanting to do stuff, and it's like, I find myself so busy that it's just like, it always gets put on the back burner. And it's like, you know, I think to myself, I would be really upset. Like, you know, and it's like, I think that I can't speak for other people. I take people and things for granted in my life. And I don't want to do that anymore. I just don't, you know? I don't want to continue to be like, I don't know, like, I don't know, I just... that rain. So pretty, isn't it? I just don't want to take anything or anyone for granted anymore. Life is too precious. And I don't really feel like I have that much in the past. But just because somebody doesn't have a time limit on their life because they're sick in a hospital in ICU, or they've been diagnosed with a terminal disease, doesn't mean that we shouldn't act towards our friends and our family and our pets like we're all on borrowed time, you know? Like, my mom used to always say that. My blog back in the day that I used to write on, I ended every blog I ended. This was the blog I started after my mom passed away that I wrote on. I ended every blog with the saying that my mom said, because we're on borrowed time as it is. Because she believed that. And whenever I say this in a vlog, people get very confused about it. They're like, well, what does that mean, we're on borrowed time? And what that means is that from the day that we're born, we've started to die. Like, we don't, any of us, know how much time we're granted here on Earth. Some of us might be here 84 years. Some of us might be here 11 or 16 years. Others of us might be here 36 years. You know, some of us might be here, you know, 103 years, 106 years, you know? We don't, any of us know. So, the attitude is to look at life like we're on borrowed time. Like, we've borrowed this time. Like, this time has been given to us. Like, this isn't just ours to take for granted. My mom would always say that, and it basically is a reminder of, you know, wake up. Like, wake up, live now. Because this time that you have, this life that you have right now, we weren't promised this, okay? This is a gift. This is borrowed. And I know people don't like that when I say that. Either that really resonates with people, or people are like, oh no, I don't agree with that, I don't like that. Well, for me, it's always resonated with me that we don't know how much time we're gonna be here, you know? And it's really just a reminder. It's not a literal phrase. I think that's where people get confused. It's not a literal phrase. I mean, it's a, you know, an analogy basically saying that the time that we are given and we live here on earth is borrowed. Like, it's a gift. And I don't personally want to live my life as if, like, I just don't want to take stuff for granted, you know? Anything. Trips, friends, days, coffee, any of it. But I think the thing that's hard for me is, like, and this is just me telling on myself, this is just me being honest about Peter for a second. You know, I share all this stuff in here, and, you know, I'm sure it comes across as preachy sometimes and whatever, but that's just really me sharing my experience. But it often takes a tragedy for me to remind myself, truly, like, I mean, every on a daily basis, like, because of my gratitude list and because of my affirmations and stuff, I remind myself the brevity of life. But it seems like it takes, like, a true tragedy to wake my butt up and be like, you're here but for a blink second. I mean, I say it in videos all the time, and I really, really believe it. I really believe it. That, like, this is not a dress rehearsal. Like, I get it, right? I believe it. I've lived enough to know it. But then when somebody passes away in my life and you shove it up into my face, it's like, I really feel it. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody holds a knife. Well, let's not use that. It's like if somebody takes like a, you know, a stick pin and they hold it to your skin and they're like, if I push this into your skin, it's gonna bleed. And you're like, yeah, I know. And then they stick it in, you go, ow, like, I know, right? You know what I mean? You do know, but then you really know, like, when it sticks it in. That's what it's like for me. It's like the tragedy affirms for me what I already knew, but, like, on a 10 times more powerful level. Which, you know, I'm grateful for the fact that I allow things to continue to teach me in life, that I don't just become numb, because I don't want to go back to that again. When I was numb with my mother, where I don't feel anything, you know, like, I can't go back to that. Like, when my mom passed, I just was numb. I just can't. That feeling of apathy, just being apathetic towards everything, I just can't feel that again. But I think, what am I even talking about tonight? Like, this is just 40 minutes of me just rambling. I've actually really, like, you know what's interesting about this vlog? Well, let me finish that up really quick. I can't go back to a point of apathy. I can't go back to a point of being numb and being apathetic where I just don't have any feelings about anything. I cannot go back to there again. I don't care if I would rather be an emotional mess than be numb. I would rather be flying off the handle, losing my, you know, crap, crying, bawling, raging. I would rather be that than be numb. I just would. But I have a choice today in how I react. You know, I have a choice today in how I respond. And I choose to respond in a way that I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my experiences with others. You know, I told Alex this today. You know, I said, I know that this is not going to help you. You're one day out. I said, you should be feeling every emotion in the world. You're literally one day out, Alex, okay? And I said, you know, but for me, I got to a point where I could realize, like, what an honor and a privilege it was that I was allowed to be in my mother's life. You know, and I know that sounds crazy, and people are like, what does that mean, allowed to be in your mother's life? Like, she had you, you were her child. Okay. I mean, on a soul level, that we had a privilege to be in each other's lives. That I got to participate in what the life of my mother looked like. That for some reason I was chosen, okay, in the entire soul world. But even past that, on a human level, there are a lot of people out there. You know, my mother was an alcoholic, hardcore alcoholic, I was going to say, on and on and on. But we still were able to have a relationship. We were still able to rectify our relationship. I have so many friends of mine, sober and not sober. I have friends of mine that are complete success stories, and they don't have any addiction issues, they never have, who they have no relationship with their parents whatsoever. None. No, for no reason. They just don't. And I feel blessed, you know, that I was able to have that with my mom. I was able to have a relationship that a lot of people don't have. And I was able to have a relationship that was different, you know. I was jealous a lot of my cousin's relationship with her mom because they went out to lunch and they went shopping, and that was never my relationship with my mom, you know. It just wasn't. Our relationship was more like sit around and have conversations, and when I found out later, Caroline was always jealous that we had that, you know, which is why you can't compare situations. But I think at the same time, you know, I don't know, I just felt like it was such an honor to be part of her life. And it was an honor to be able to be part of her death as well, you know? And I was telling Alex that, the fact that, you know, you get to be part of this, like people sitting around processing him, people sitting there telling stories, how much he meant to all of you, like, you know? And the sadness is, and we don't ever really want to talk about this, but how many people, how many hundreds and thousands of people there are out there that will come and go every day, and nobody will even know, you know? And that's sad to me. That breaks my heart. Each of our lives are important. Each of our lives matter. You know, when you live a life like I do and you go to like Walmart, I mean, I joke about going to the Walmart and going to the Meijer and going to the gas station, all this kind of stuff, but make fun of this all you want. I don't really care. It brings me comfort. But, you know, my girls at the gas station that I know, you know, that are there every day when I go in there, or my baristas at Starbucks, or this crazy funny lady at Meijer that's the host, you know, or the host at Walmart or whatever, or the cashier that Tanya and I joke about. And the cashier is, you know, our Tony at our BP that we go to. You know, I get a lot of comments, or I get a lot of like emails from people, and they'll say, I just don't feel like my life matters. And, you know, I work at, you know, such and such as a cashier, and I don't, and I think to myself, like, these people matter to me. Like, I consider them friends. Like, as crazy as it sounds that I know their names and I talk to them, you know, when I go to the Walmart, or, I mean, Tony and I every night, like, we went into BP last night, and which is now like changing over, because she always talks about how she's got a card there and a gift card and all this kind of stuff. She did it again tonight. But anyway, I was just talking about that when I drove by that one place the other night. But anyway, you know, like last night we went in there and he wasn't there, and we were asking the guy, and he was like, oh no, Tony got a night off tonight. And so we went in there tonight, and because after the meeting, Tony was like, can you take me to go get me a fountain pop, so fountain Coke. So I did, and so we were in there, and Tony was there, and we were talking to him, and he was like, yeah, he was like, I was actually here till 9 o'clock last night, and they let me off. And we were talking to him about the new guy that they hired there, and he was telling us what he likes to be called and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I think we don't think about the impact that we have on people. I think we don't think about how maybe we really are important to at least one person out there, you know? And I know there's a lot of you out there that are silent watchers, that don't comment, that don't talk, that watch this. And I'll get emails every once in a while from people that will say, I literally have no friends. I literally have nobody. And I come home and YouTube is who I watch. YouTube is what I have. I don't have any friends. I'm not close with my family. You know, I have a cat or a dog, and that's it. You know, I don't talk to my coworkers. I don't go out to eat or do anything with them. So this thing that we want to talk about called YouTube, that we want to say is just entertainment and, you know, all this kind of stuff, to some people is how they live vicariously through other people. I think the same thing, you know. It's like, it's funny. I don't often talk about this. I think I have recently, but I watch Hey Queen. It's like, did I talk about this on here? Hey Queen, and look at her. It's probably like my favorite YouTube channel, Johnny McGovern, and he interviews like all the RuPaul's Drag Race girls. Well, he usually, like, on a Monday will post a Hey Queen, and then on Tuesday, the follow-up after show, look at her, and then let's say Wednesday or Thursday, another Hey Queen, and he goes back to back through a whole season. Well, like, he went like 4 days over the weekend, and he hadn't posted anything, and I started to get a little nervous. I was like, where is it at? Like, you know? Because I've had a lot of YouTubers that I've watched that literally just walked away. You know, Will and RJ at Shep689, like, they got married. I mean, I literally watched every vlog they ever did for 7 years, watched their wedding, on and on and on, and then just one day, I remember the last video they did was like their new home tour, and it was like around Christmas time, and it was like this beautiful house, and then they didn't post anything again, and literally, like, they would post several times a week. I don't know when it, oh my God, you guys, it's like way up on my face. We don't need all that. I have no idea when it stopped. Hello? I didn't even realize I was at the 23-minute mark, so I don't know, I looked over and it was like a black screen. But I was talking about YouTubers that I watched consistently, like, all the time, and then one day, they just weren't posting videos anymore. I don't know, like, I understand that it's gotta be hard, but I really think, quite frankly, it's an FU to your audience and to your viewers that have invested so much time and energy in your life. Not your channel, but your life. And I've heard some people say they don't owe it to anybody. No, they don't. That you're absolutely right, they don't owe it to anybody. But you're talking about thousands of people that invested their life, or their time and energy into your life, their life into your life, right? That just to, like, have no conclusion to that whatsoever, to not even sit on video and say, like, I don't love breakup videos, but they make sense. To never even get on video and say, like, we've decided, you know, to not continue to do this. Thank you for following us for, you know, the last 10 years or the last 5 years. You know, I mean, and some people just walk away from YouTube because they just don't want to do it anymore. It's just not their thing, and I totally understand that. I'm not talking about people that post, you know, randomly once a month or every 3 months. I'm talking about people that consistently post like 3 times a week, and then all of a sudden they're just, boom, they're gone, and you don't know where they're at. It'd be like if all of a sudden tomorrow, like, I wasn't on social media, okay, I didn't post anything on Twitter or Instagram, that you guys had no idea, that I disappeared from all pictures with Alex, and that I didn't make any more YouTube videos on any of my channels. Are you telling me that nobody out there, not one of you, I know some of my haters right now are like, we could care less. Well, you watch an hour of my vlog every night, so you don't hate me that much. But, I mean, if you do like me a little bit, okay, I'm a nice guy, you should like me. Anyway, I mean, if you like me a little bit, I mean, are you telling me that you wouldn't be a little pissed, like, what the hell happened? And concerned? Like, where is he? You know what I mean? Like, is he okay? What happened? I think it's one of the most inconsiderate things YouTubers can do. I really, really do. To never come out and say anything, you know, and just, like, assume that we, okay, so you guys aren't together anymore, we get it, right? There's, like, some YouTubers out there that, so, like, okay, there's this channel, I don't really watch him as much anymore as I used to, but if I see one of his videos, I'll watch it. Now you guys, I'll say this, and you guys will be like, yeah, he stopped posting videos, but I don't think he did. His name's Vinny, and he has a channel called Vsquared, and his husband's name was Luke, I think, Vinny and Luke. There's Trent and Luke, and then there's Vinny and, I was gonna say Vinny and Trent, or Vinny, it's like the same name as one of them. I think it's Vinny and Luke. So, they got divorced. And Vinny, like, lived in the UK with his husband, and then Vinny moved back. Well, Vinny made videos about it. Like, he talked about it. He bawled in videos and talked about the divorce and how hard it was for him. And he didn't even say, I mean, he didn't say horrible things about his ex, but they weren't the nicest things in the entire world either, you know? And he said, you know, I offered if he wanted to get on video and make a video with me, he could. And, like, he took us with him through the process. You know, that's exactly what I would do. No matter how hard that was, I do feel like I would owe that to people. It wouldn't be easy at all. It wouldn't be easy at all. You know? Hell, I've sat there, you guys, literally, on a day that, like, And I know that this sounds corny, but, you know, I'll be sitting there some days and like Peepee's cough is so bad, and I'm just like sitting there and when I hold him and I just like kind of stroke his back, and I'm like, it's okay, buddy, it's okay, it's okay. And once the coughing's over, he's right back to normal. He's fine, right? I don't even know how I'm going to get on video and make that video. I literally don't know how I'm going to do it. I have no clue. My dogs have been such a part of my YouTube career so far. YouTube career, what a bunch of bullshit that was. My YouTube, whatever you want to call it, journey, that sounds even more phony. My YouTube, I don't know, what do I call it? My YouTube deal, let's just call it that. But you know, like, they've been like such a big part of that. Like, what do I do, you know, like, for any of them? I don't know, like, but you do it because you guys have been so wonderful to be along for the ride. And I was gonna make a joke and say my YouTube journey. Oh God, one of the greatest gifts we were ever given was the ability to laugh at ourselves. Don't ever take yourself too seriously, because it just is not that deep. It just really isn't. I mean, life is very deep and very valuable and worth it and all that kind of stuff, but we aren't, and we make fools of ourselves all the time. Oh man. I was gonna say something about this vlog. What was I gonna say? Oh, like, people have been asking me lately. I don't call this a vlog anymore. I find that people get really, really confused, and I've had a couple people be like, this is not a vlog. I'm like, well, what is a vlog then? I guess I'm confused. I thought a vlog was video blogging. And isn't a blog anything you want it to be? So can't this just be whatever I want it to be? Am I wrong? After 3 years, am I completely wrong and this is not a vlog? Okay. Well, it's called Peter Vlog, so that's the title. But from now on, I just tell people it's a podcast. I'm like, yeah, it's a podcast. So, just plug it in and listen to it like a podcast. And tell all your friends. Say, girl, Rich Lux must have some hot tea tonight, because he has called me twice at the middle of the night. He always calls me, he's like, how's the drama phone? But I tell everybody now that it's just like a podcast. And when people are like, oh my God, what podcast do you listen to? I'm like, you should totally listen to my podcast. And they're like, you have a podcast? And I go, no, I have a vlog, but it's like an hour long. You just plug it in, just listen to it in your car like it's a podcast. And they're like, really? Oh my God. And I've had so many people that have come to me and they're like, I listen to you every night now. Oh my God, I learned about your grandma going to prison. That always cracks me up when people say that. Or they'll say, I didn't know this, or I didn't know that. So tell all your friends, when any of your friends say, what podcast do you listen to? Go, Peter Vlogs on YouTube. It's a podcast, but he just drives around in a car. Just listen to it. Plug it in your car and just listen to it. Trust me, it's like a podcast. So that's how we're going to market this for now. Should I change this and call it Peter's Podcast instead of Peter Vlogs? Should I change the title? Put your comments in the comment section below. I would be really interested to know that. Should I change this and call it Peter's Podcast? Anyway, so pass it on to all your friends. Let them know this is just like a podcast. I'm going to get off here now and find out the hot tea, the hot drama of the night. But remember, and I know not everybody loves this, but you know, life is a gift. We're on borrowed time. And I hope you're having an amazing Wednesday, unless you have other plans. Do something that really would make you happy today. You know, even if it's just 5 minutes, do something that really makes you happy. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Pass it on. Say it to yourself in the mirror. Believe it inside. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Love you.